Now you should be able to hear me the first few seconds. You might not be able to hear me. Testing, testing, testing. I believe that you guys can hear me now. Looks like Catherine and Terry are in here. I'm waiting for the laptop to tell me that we're engaged so I can see people's comments next to me. Looks like we're there. So, how's everybody doing? I hear you. I see you. Hey, Terry. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Catherine. Terry messaged me just minutes before we started this. She wants to add another half box. She has now joined the 1.5 box club. So, welcome, Terry. Catherine Mefford is also part of the 1.5 box club. Hi, Holland. How you doing, sweetheart? So I'm going to continue on. We're going to do a little bit with my gourd today. Uh, since I started this thing, I didn't want to just like do a little blip and then not do a little follow up. But before we get started, as you know, I've been digging through everything. Uh, what did you say? They are special. Hi, Hope. How you doing, honey? Hi, Michelle. Michelle J. That's a new name for me. Michelle J. Welcome. So we're talking about these mystery boxes, and those of you that don't know me, I have to move. I have rented this studio lab for 19 years, and the landlord wants basically for her son-in-law and daughter to take over. Hey, nice to see you, Holland. Though so glad to see you here. Hi, Priya. Late to the party. So what I did is, so Priya, a little explanation is, if you haven't seen all the propaganda I've been emailing out, I'm going through 19 years worth of my samples, and when I make mystery box, yeah, make sure they know it's mystery box samples. That's what that half box is for. So uh, there's racks and racks and racks and racks of these jars of me making, say, a dozen colors for a set. I'm supposed to be tasked to make a dozen colors, but yet uh, I might make 17. There's 5 extra. I might do 14, and there's 2 extra. And then the recipe goes on the side of the jar. It sits in a box, and I'm looking at this one too to see if this one was a BlingIt. So yeah. So what we're doing is we're making these mystery boxes. They'll have an estimated of a full box will have about 24 ounces of primary elements as a minimum. There's going to be, I'm asking everybody to give me a feature focus color like gold, copper, bronze for metallic. And I did find another box of these Prism Pour tubs out there. We don't use these anymore, but this is how I store my mineral blends. Here, I'll turn this over so you guys can see this. And so, yeah, this is completely full. My plan is to make a special custom one of a kind copper or gold or bronze blend. And they'll be about 3/4 full, half to 3/4 full on these. Those will be included in the boxes. There's also going to be some blingits. Now, I have to show you these because I'm cleaning up and going through my shelves. I ran across 8 blingits, meaning they're simply mineral blends that I've made that we've never sold ever. Okay. We've never had them on the market or sold them. So I can't believe how stinking gorgeous these things are. Uh, I'll try to remember there's blingit. There's no color in it, but I'll give you an idea at least what the mica or the mineral looks like. Like this is that first one there. Probably have to add more water. Remember, there's no color to dissolve in this thing. Morning, Sharon. How are you doing? But this looks I called it black pearl was what I named this thing. I put these little names on the side when I'm making them. How do you order? Well, on the website now, if you go to the ColorPlay deals page, you will find their mystery box. And you have an option to do a half box, a full box. There are people that have done both. They'll take a half and a full, like 1.5 boxes. Basically, it'll be loaded with prism pours that never made it into the line, or samples of other products that I've made that have been sitting on my shelves. And, you know, since I have to move, there is so much paint here. There's no way until I live to 110 will ever use them all, even though I'd love once I move to be able to arrange some kind of workshops and really keep focusing on teaching and teaching and teaching as this thing progresses. But when I ran across these BlingIts this morning, I had to show you guys these because these are colors we've never even mixed up and sold. And I'm considering doing a few of them. Like this is this crazy, weird peridot green mix. I'm going to have to try to paint with it. But this was like a mineral blend, like there's no actual ground color. This is not a primary element. This is a mineral blend that I made. And uh, well, the color base that's in it, I hope dissolves well enough. When I say color base, there's a mineral I use that has that color on it to give it that green. I didn't add any extra color. Well, that's pretty. Looks like it's also got pink and, yeah, it's got pink and green and red in there. That's an interesting combination. This one got me real excited, but you kind of have to see all the colors of the rainbow in it. It just says number 310, and then on the side it says what I use. So these are some of the colors that are going to be in you guys' mystery boxes. I mean, this is about the level. It'll be this or half full. Now, some of them, if there's only a little teaspoon in the bottom of the cup, you'll have another jar that has more product in it. But I'm not going to throw a teaspoon of something rare away when you certainly wouldn't if you had it in the bottom of your jar. So yeah, the mystery boxes are going to have a plethora of everything in there. We're just going to stash them and pack them full. $500 value for 300 bucks. Half box is $189. I did fix the freight on that half box because it was pulling a heavier freight yesterday, but we got the weight and sizes. Ooh, look at this one. This is this crazy. Oh, these colors drive me nuts. So yeah, I just sat down one day and said, well, let's mix this mineral, 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 until, and like I said, I went through the shelf. I knew that had, right, yeah, well, it's $375 for a full box plus freight. Yes, ma'am, it's $375. It's $5 less than that, Terry. It's $375, right? $375, right, for the full box. Anyway, I just had to this. I know someone who probably would want them in their box. Somebody that said they wanted green. I think that's Kathleen McGee. I've got two people that have really mentioned that green is their focus color. So what we're asking when you do the mystery box, and if you don't put a note in the shipper's note box right under the shipper's note box, I'll probably reach out and contact you, because what we're trying to do is have a focus color. Like say you love purple, we'll make sure that you have a nice luscious jar of something purple in the box, and then you tell me if you're gold, copper, bronze. This would be, say, a gold mix, or let somebody really like, now this is my forbidden ruin, right? But we can definitely make a beautiful version of a copper forbidden ruin. But I'm going to do some special blends. I have something here, I think, that I can add an opal effect to these. So I'm going to make some custom blends, and you got to make sure you let me know what your focus metallic is and what your focus favorite color is in order for me to customize you. And yeah, and here's Tiger Eye, not a bad base, which is the base for the bronze, right? You can tell the difference between the gold and the bronze, right? So lots of sparkle, guys. Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. But when I stumbled on these this morning, I was cleaning up. And by the way, announcement to everybody that ordered the watercolor cakes, they officially were alphabetized. Everybody's order was pulled. I have them all in baggies with your slips on them. Even Walter's huge order, that big order that he placed, Patty Simmons ordered, everybody's order is pulled. I'll get it to the shipping department to probably tomorrow. They'll come pick it up. And those watercolors will be shipping Tuesday and Wednesday. Whew. And then what I'm going to do for the balance of the watercolors, I'm trying to figure it out. So it'll say material. When you click the button, it'll say chestnut, and you can add one to the cart, or pink grapefruit and add it to the cart. Now the website will show it at $33 instead of $30 a cake, simply because we know our founding members get 10% off. And I am trying to raise capital to move. So if you buy the twinks through the website, they're $33. If you reach out to me and want to get the list, they're $30. And you can Zelle me the money, or preferably. But if you can't do that, we understand. Put it on Klarna and make it in for our payments. We'll make it easy for everybody. But I wanted you guys to see these big prison pour tubs. Like, these are the tubs that prison pour used to be in, and I've got a whole couple cases of these empty jars. So this is what your metallics are going to be put in. You guys are all going to get a beautiful, luscious jar of some kind of metallic with your box. Anyway, let me get these closed up. I just, like I said, this crazy lime green, I can't believe I made this as a BlingIt. This is like something you've never seen in the BlingIt from me. This purple one kind of grabs my heart. I love that violet, but I can see what would happen if I put color in this. I don't know if I can use any of these on my gourd today, because we may not be there yet. I did experiment with rubbing some interference on with my finger on the butterfly, and I'll show you guys in a couple minutes. So, but these may not be ready to be able to be used for the gourd. So I'm going to put them away for safety's sake. We don't want them dumped over. Give me a minute. I'll put them in the box next to me. That big old... I'm up to my eyeballs with stuff all around me. What, sweetheart? You just took an extra half a box. Okay. Good girl. I think that's what I'm reading here. Got to make sure you don't miss out. Well, thank you, Miss Sherry. Yeah, isn't that green pretty? You like this? I know you and Mefford like this. Okay, I'm going to put Ellis on the bottom of this. And then McGee, because there's enough there for me to split this for both you guys. So that's the one thing about coming on the lives. If you see something, there's people already putting dibs on stuff that they're seeing on camera. So at least I make sure they get a little bit of it. Miss McCabe, now don't forget you. I'm confused, sweetheart, because there's a bunch of people I called that day to get the reservations before I put them up on the website. And some people, the price was just too high. And you guys are the ones that inspired me to say, okay, I'll do a half a box. Let's make it so everybody gets a chance to have a little bit of these tasty treats. So McCabe is green, please. Okay. So okay. So you got green on your list. That's true. There's also poison ivy and that dark Laguna Azul. Sharon, were you the dark green girl? I know, yeah. I think it was somebody, maybe it was you, honey. Somebody that said, I really love dark green. So, yeah, I have a list on my iPhone after I look at all you guys' orders, because I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to get a dream color. Yes, all greens. Well, I'm not going to give you all green, but I will give you some green. I got to leave some green for other people. Don't I, Sharon? I mean, now come on. I mean, if I had I don't know. I can't say that anymore. 10 years ago, if you asked me, I'd say, give me all the turquoise. But, okay, my phone just messed up, and now I got to figure out how to get back to where I can see you guys. There we go. Okay. Yeah, if you had asked me 10 years ago, I would have just said blue, 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 turquoise, 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 but now almost every color of the rainbow is my favorite. Okay, so last wasn't Saturday, it was Friday. I broke out a gourd. For those of you that didn't see me do this, now gourds have been found as far back as 13,000 BC. They were in the Egyptians' tombs 2200 BC. They found drinking bowls, utensils, hats, hair things made out of the gourd. I remember talking on the phone to somebody last week. She goes, "Gourd, you mean a pumpkin?" Well, they're sort of related to the pumpkin family, but they dry hard as a rock. Hi, how you doing, Sparkle? You may want to grab one of these mystery boxes before they're gone. So, because I have to move, I have lab samples. I'm giving away 19 years worth of lab samples I'm going to be putting together in these mystery boxes. So, I've been promising everybody that 2024 is the year of following through with your artwork, not letting it sit. Do something with it. Keep pushing it. Try to finish it. Also, don't, of course, I'm terrible at this. I'm horrible at walking by and petting my paints. And I want to make myself pick up and use it. It doesn't do me any good being in the drawer or on the shelf, other than I get excited when I walk by and look at how pretty it is. So, the amount of work involved in painting this thing, I'll give you and again, those that you are caught up and didn't see this gourd started as a regular vegetable gourd. They're hard. And recess cutting was not a thing people were doing 30 something years ago. I took a Dremel tool. After I drew my designs out, I took a Dremel tool and cut every single slice of the skin away. It took me 3 months to do this background. And then it sat for a few years. And then when Primary Elements came out, I've tried painting this with so many things to get color to come up. And if anybody who's a gourd worker knows how hard it is to get color to show up in this dark brown wood, finally, and you would think this purely pigments would be even richer. This was the Primary Elements painted on, and then probably 5 to 6 coats of future floor polish. Now, they don't sell it this way anymore, but you can get floor polish. Originally, it was future floor polish, then S.C. Johnson bought it, and they called it Pledge Revive It. It's not a cleaner, doesn't clean anything. It's actually a floor gloss, like what you find when you walk into the court building and those floors are extra shiny. They've put a gloss on the floor and they've buffed it, right? Well, next to epoxy, that's a pretty nice shiny effect. And toy train modelists have used this a lot. Well, Terry, you know what? There's a lot of floor polish stuff out there. I would try to get someone to get you a small sample. Maybe somebody you know in the janitorial industry, just give a little small sample, because in theory, any floor polish would work. But I'm looking here on the ingredients if it actually says that it's got, it calls it proprietary film on here. But what they're talking about is, let me see if I can find a little jar. There's liquid polystyrene in this. And that's polystyrene is what they use to make hard plastic jars. And so when it dries, it has that shininess to it, and then they buff it up. Now, again, it took several coats. And when our parents used this, of course, I'm aging myself, I'm 71. When my parents used this, they thought they weren't really cleaning the floor, but they kept mopping it with the floor polish, and then they had to go back and strip the floor after so much had gone on there. But yes, as long as it's but you want glossy, high gloss floor. Would you call it a cleaner? It wouldn't be a cleaner. It's a sealer. Yes, Sandy's right. It's some kind of sealer. It's a gloss sealer, exactly what they use on the floors, and they buff up to make the floors shiny. And it has a polystyrene in it. So polymer clay artists use it a lot. Toy train models use it. And I mean, these guys, they'll get a little mini engine and they paint it silver, and then they'll put like five or six coats so it shines before they put it in their little engine. I mean, these guys are obsessive about how pretty it looks. Okay, so to bring you up to date with what we did is on Saturday, yeah, what's today? Sunday. On Friday, um, all of these stems were simply plain wood colored. There was a real dark wood. So what I did is I took some aqueous white, purely pigment aqueous white, and a little bit of varnish, and I put a sheer coat to cover up the color, uh, so I could put a light down and then the green would pop, right? Now, I did try going over some place that I'd already future floor polished and it worked, okay? So, um, even though you may say, oh, you like that red, I'm not completely thrilled with what this red looks like now, because I know for a fact that if I did, instead of the aqueous white, did a base coat of, say, holly berry or some red as a base, like I did this white here, and then I painted it, adding a little more depth. Like when I painted this was this yellow is bit of honey mixed with a little bit of the Aztec yellow. And then I had some cotton candy mixed up where I painted this pink. And I just put one line of the cotton candy right over here. And it just, the cotton candy on top of that yellow turned orange. And it really framed this nicely. It's adding some dimension to my butterfly. So, truth be known, now that I'm looking at it, I would love to do the same thing here with my crocuses. Again, painting this whole thing is probably going to take several weeks. A lot of you guys have said, oh, put it in a bowl. But to be honest, the best place for it, and I don't know if my camera will go back this far, probably not, is to actually have it sitting in my lap, right? You guys can't see it, but sitting in my lap in my chair at home, detail painting this thing while it sits in my lap, because that's the best way to steady it and get a hand on it. As far as trying to do it on camera for you guys, because this is uneven, there's no perfect round uniform to a vegetable, right? What I've done is I've left a couple spots that we know the camera will get to this easy. We know the camera can show that easy. I know the camera will show this easy, so I can kind of demonstrate what I did. But I am going to go over the crocuses and let them dry. You saw a lot of recommendations, but haven't gone through them yet. Who's asking about recommendations? Multi-surface. Yeah, but you don't want anything that's going to strip, Terry. It needs to be 100% gloss, 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 gloss. And like I said, if anybody knows somebody in the industrial industry, does janitorial work or runs a janitorial company, they will know what they use on the floors to add that floor polish, that shine. And maybe you can get a little sample of it and try it, just a little sample. I know it's unbelievable they don't really make it anymore. So to get to the underside of this, it's easier for me to turn the gourd upside down. And I'm going to show you here. I know you're going to go, oh, it's pink. Why am I going to remove it? Well, it took me forever to get this pink to show up in so many coats. This is about 20 years ago. And uh, if I knew what I knew now, then, I would have base coated with a little bit of white before I put the color over the top, because obviously it's nice and bright and shiny. So I've got this aqueous white that's in your set number 3, right? With just a drop of varnish And I think I'll do this one. It's kind of out of reach. Hopefully we can get the camera up high enough for you guys to see this. Move this up so you can see this little puppy here. I've got to be able to get out so you can see the whole thing. And because there's people here that didn't see me do this. So I'm going to go right over the top of this shape. Okay. Now, I already have my repair tool ready. This is a bamboo skewer with a wet paper towel on the tip. So if my white gets away from me, I can clean it up right away. Okay. I've got my cleanup tool prepped and ready in case I go outside. And all I really want to do is cover it up. This is kind of strong. I found that one brush full of this aqueous white will cover a lot of area, not just this crocus petal, but it's probably going to do the one next to it also. A little bit goes a long way with this white, and it doesn't have to be bright white. As I show you and go through this, right? It can be just sheer enough. It can be sheer and still do the job. The whole point is to give us like a white backdrop. So when we go over another color, it shows up. That's the problem with working on a wood surface, and especially the gourd wood, that funky tan color that the gourd's, grown with. That color is so hard to cover up. Most gourd artists over years have used shoe dye to color it. That was the only thing. I'm running out of my white here, so I need a little bit more. That's what they had to use was shoe dye, which is kind of crazy, right? But that's all that they could get to get it like a bright orange or their bright southwest colors that they needed on their gourds. So this white takes a little bit to dry. You don't want to paint over it right away. So I'm just going to like map out the white on the crocuses here. So there's a lighter base. And I can go over with what I consider to be a much prettier color. Now, I know this has a little shimmer. Sorry if anybody's bummed that I'm doing this, but we're going over paint that, like I said, is at least 20 years old because the primary elements were made in 2003 was when they first were released. And so it was probably 2003 or 2004 when I tried painting this. And it did okay, right? And so one last one here. Oh, I think I've already got a little white on here, but let's add a little layer because that's kind of light. You don't need much. See, it's not like a perfect bright white. It's just enough to add a sheer backdrop to the color. So over here, I've got an area that I've already painted. And the color combination that I really, really like is that venomous viper and then a little bit of the rusted oxide over the top of the venomous viper gives me a very natural green color, right? Hi. Annette, is Lobster Lady here? Oh my God. Hey, you guys, Annette is sitting in her hospital room. And she had emergency surgery over the weekend. I think it was Friday. Everybody show a little bit of love to Annette. I am so tickled to see you here, sweetheart. Now, even though this sits upright, I'm afraid if I paint it, the paint's going to run down here. So if it's not in my lap where I can control it, I'm going to try to turn this. Maybe this is not going to work. Yeah, this will probably have to be the angle I'm going to have to do it at. All right, so my colors are going to be Venomous Viper. Oh, you're home? Or she got somewhere. Good. So you can't really see me do the mix. I'm going to try. What I'm doing is adding 1, 2, just a few drops, okay? Venomous Viper. And when I say a drop, I mean a drop, maybe two. You don't need much varnish. It's just a, see, that's all I'm putting in there. Just enough to get the venomous viper to move around. All right. Then I'm going to do the same thing with my rusted oxide, which is one of the main colors that takes to make all those quinacridine gold, the Nicoasa golds, and everything that everybody loves, right? Rusted oxide is my secret secret sauce to make things real pretty. So I've got a little rusted oxide, again, just a drop, not much. Get my brush cleaned off here, okay? And so I'm mixing up my rusted oxide, all right? Because I'm going to show you how I did these. Now I know it's a small area, all right? So I started with, there's a little bit of rusted oxide left on my brush, and that's okay. But I started with the venomous viper. Yes, it will. You know what? I'm going to change the title of the one called Mixing White and make sure it says fluorescent mixing white on the website. Aqueous white, think of it as like a zinc white. It's a white that's translucent. It'll allow mica to show up. It's not as strong as titanium dioxide. And all you really need is just a little layer to kind of give you a base coat so you can paint over it. Okay. Yeah, this is actual mixing white. It's called aqueous white. No, no, no. This is aqueous white. What do you mean actual mixing white? Yep. Yeah. Don't, I need to change the name of mixing white, Terry, because we called it mixing white and it's really meant for fluorescence. And the aqueous white is meant for us to be able to take like a color like Oh Snap, add some, here it is, like here's Oh Snap, add some aqueous white, and then you can make a pale lavender. And aqueous is not fluorescent, mixing white is. So I am going to fix the title on that white. That way the confusion's cleared up and it'll say fluorescent mixing white and then aqueous white. Hopefully that helps. All right. So yeah, we've got this. Now I painted this white on yesterday afternoon. And what I'm going to do is just start with my little bit of green here. I got my venomous viper. I don't want too much on the brush, just enough to get it on there, right? Can you see this? Let's see if you guys can see this. I know it's really bright right now. Sunglass alert, right? And I'm using an angle brush to get it on there. Pretty easy. It feels like I'm painting in my coloring book. It's fairly simple. Now to make it interesting, it's going to be hard to do because I got to hold the gourd in place. I'm going to drop my brush and a little bit of the rusted oxide and give it an accent here. So it's not just a bright, bright green, right? It's got a little bit of an accent to it. I've wiped my brush off and now I can kind of blend that rusted oxide into the green and it makes it look more natural, okay? I'm gonna do the same thing up here. Of course, you can go darker. See, now there's a little bit of rusted oxide still left in the brush. That's perfect. It's giving me different shades of green as I'm painting this on because of what's still left on my brush. I'm not dipping into water and cleaning it off. So it's more natural if you have 2 or 3 different colors of green coming on as you're painting this. Now, these white areas here, you try to clean them up when it's wet, but that's okay because I'm going to be able to take some chocolate drop, one of our Purely Pigments chocolate drop. I'll show you right now because we're going to have to let that dry. Where is my chocolate drop? And again, I only need a drop just to show that one spot. I mean, when the whole thing is completely painted, what I'm going to do is just take a bit of this colored chocolate drop Okay, I'm having trouble getting it out of it. It's my sample. It's not the one from that we make. Sorry, not the one that we make. And I just want a little bit on here because I'm not going to make a bunch now. What I will do is I would touch it up at the end after the whole thing is painted. You kind of go over, there's one little drop of varnish in it. You go over the whole entire thing and look for any sections where you think, say, the white got in here. I have an angle brush. I can go right in here, touch it up with the chocolate drop, and get my lines nice and crisp again. You know, I don't need that white there. There's a little spot of white right here. Hit it with the chocolate drop. It just blends in with the background color of the gourd, right? But that's what I would do to go over my mistakes. But when you make a mistake to begin with, make sure you've got a little, like this little tool has that nice little tip to it because it's a bamboo skewer. So I can go in and touch something up. Like there's some white that got on top of it from last night. I don't know if it's going to come off. This thing's wet. That's why it's been sitting there since last night. I want to touch it up. So this is how I did all the greenery underneath her was done with the venomous viper, right? Now this looks like it could use a little bit of rusted oxide. That's too perfect of a green. To me, it's doesn't look natural, right? So I'm going to see if I can't. This is where you want to do them upside down. Remember, we're dealing with a vegetable gourd. That's not exactly like a perfect canvas that you can paint. And so I'm going to add a little bit. And remember that because the color is sheer, I can get away with just putting a little bit on it. Even if I just had straight varnish, add a second coat to this so it doesn't look like such a perfect green, right? Yeah, in nature, when leaves first pop out and they're super, super thin and they're getting all the photosynthesis or whatever they get from the sun, they're that pale green. But very quickly, nature and oxygen, I can't even say, you know, I'm talking oxygenation will make the leaves darker and darker. So I'm just going to add some accents here so it looks a little bit more realistic. Does it need to be that perfect, bright, in your face lime green? Add a little variation to these. Looking at this, it doesn't really look as real, especially over here. This looks way, way, way too much of a pucker up lime green. Where's your sunglasses? So I'm just kind of rubbing in the rusted oxide, kind of the top of all of this, just to give it that extra little oomph, a little bit of something, something. I can't see a word anybody's saying, so I hope everybody's having fun because I'm sitting here focusing on my gourd. All right. Now, I really want to try to paint over them. It's going to be a little bit of risk. I know my crocuses were pink and some do come pink. This time around, I actually want to try the Snap purple. Yeah, yeah. Nature's all over the place on what it's going to do with color. Terry's right, and so, you know, except when the first little leaves are poking off those branches and they have that unreal green, but after about 24 to 30 something hours, right? Uh, the the oxygen and the carbon dioxide and everything in the air makes the green darker and leaf darker. And then as the leaf gets thicker, it becomes a darker shade of color. So I'm going to mix up, see if you guys can't watch me, I'm going to do it down here. I'm going to make up some Snap because this time my crocuses are going to be purple. purple. So there's three. Ooh, that's a lot of oh snap. Okay. And then my pale lavender in my homegrown batch seemed a little bit lighter than the labs, the final pale lavender, but I'm going to use the pale lavender you guys have in your boxes, even though it looks like my batch is thickening up here. And if you guys haven't used this, these are pure color with just enough carry to get it to flow. And sometimes it's a little bit thick. Wow, it really doesn't want to come off there. And I don't need that much. Now, that still looks a little dark to me. It's possible I might even lighten it one more shade with some aqueous white. It's not a bad color. But I mean, of course, it's not a bad color, but compared to, say, the Oh Snap, which is really dark, I just want to have a lot of contrast. Ooh, that's a pretty color. That's going to be gorgeous. Yeah, so I want a lot of contrast when I'm laying it down. I think I'm going to add just a tiny bit more of the aqueous white to this cup. I don't necessarily have all the fancy bottles from my lab. Half the time I'm using my own samples when I do demonstrations for you guys, because I don't like to pull out of stock what we're going to sell to you guys, right? So see if I can get a drop of my aqueous white. I just want it a shade lighter because I need contrast. All right. So I've taken my pale lavender, a little bit of aqueous white, trying to bring it up a shade. Still doesn't look light enough to me. What would make a contrast, yikes, I wished I thought about this in advance. I could have a red violet or do some kind of blue shadow on. I'm going to add a little more white since I'm committing to trying to lighten it with the white. But as the saying, when I did that butterfly, I did the bit of honey and then I highlighted it with a pink, and that was a real strong contrast on how this butterfly worked out. And so I kind of would like to have a contrast color for my Oh Snap. If I was really brave, my contrast color might be cyan aqua. Okay, you guys are going to think I'm nuts, but just for grins and giggles, just so I can say I have it here, I'm going to put a little drop of the cyan aqua out, or a couple of drops, as soon as I can get it out of the darn bottle. We all know the drill, man. Stuff is really thick. Yeah, and this is actually, ooh, that's one of my hand samples. That's not the, where is the cyan aqua? This is actually from the new set, the new neon set, Lagoon. So there's not much in the bottle. I'm going to have to scrape a little bit off to the side. This is a hand sample I made for me. I just want to be able to have it as an accent. You know how the rusted oxide accents that violet? Well, it's possible that I can get away with using some of this color, but I don't want much varnish in it. You don't want to thin that color down very much. You want that color strong, right? Let's see if I can't get more to pour out of the bottle for me. There we go. Now we got enough in there. That'll work. I want to make sure I had enough of that aqua. This might make a better accent color than trying to go with a light purple. Let's see. All right. Now I wish I was painting it straight up, not upside down. Because when you do your brush strokes, you want to do it in the pattern of the petal. So it would be painting this way. Oops. Let me see if you can get the camera up. It would be painting this way. So we're going to try. What I'm going to do is we're going to start with the Oh Snap here, and highlight here and see if it lets me go right over this area that had been previously featured for a polish. Looks like that's going to work. That's a much pretty color. To me, it's a much prettier color for the crocus. We don't have them here in California because it doesn't snow or get cold enough. But everything I've seen, they're violet, and I think I've seen some that are pink. Now, just to try it out, I'm taking some of the pale lavender with a little bit of white on the tip and see what happens. Now, that's not horrible. So it's very subtle. I have pale lavender on one side and no snap on the other, right? It's not bad. Looks pretty decent. But it's very, 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 very subtle. Okay. And this is kind of my fantasy crocus. I keep having to make sure I'm in the camera while every stroke I'm doing. I'm so sorry, guys, but trying to paint on a vegetable in camera is not exactly the easiest thing to do, right? And make sure you can see it and make sure I can see it and still have it a few inches from my nose. Okay, so I don't know if you're going to think I'm out of my mind, but I want to try putting some aqua here. Oh, I like that. So I like having the aqua as the accent. You'll get a little bit of purple, but see how the aqua will end up mixing in with that oh snap. This is going to be way more dramatic doing this. So you see I'm adding a little bit of the lagoon. It's actually the lagoon from the neon set. And it's gradiating into the purple there, much prettier. I like that a whole lot better. And let's see where the rest of my purple. It's so hard to see this on camera, guys. That I'm going to try for you. I'm trying everything I can for you. Yeah, I like that. I like that cyan. I had a feeling I would. So I'm going to just let it go all the way down here to the edge. I think that's going to give me a lot prettier contrast, putting that cyan aqua there versus having the purple and just the pale lavender there, right? Hey, after all, it is my gourd. I get to paint it any way I want to. So I'm going to come over here, try to get some violet in there, get that O snap in there. And then come in with the cyan aqua. Boy, trying to do this on camera in front of you guys is quite a challenge. That's all I got to say. But I think we can get this to gradiate in if I'm real careful. Trying to get everything off my brush I can and try to blend this purple into that aqua. That's not bad at all. I kind of don't mind that little bit of accent there. It's my fantasy crocus. Oh, thank you, Sherry. Yeah, a little bit of a challenge. Now, here's what I did here, and I don't know if it's going to show up. I just took some interference violet and rubbed it on here. My goal is to repaint all the florals. And then once I get there, I'll come back and show you guys how I'm going to add a metallic accent to this. But it's probably going to take me days sitting at night, doing this. Like I said, sitting in my chair, painting it, doing it on camera with you is, and I'm not complaining. I'm just simply saying it's much easier when you're gripping it in your lap and then you have control of where your paintbrush is going. I said, not quite the same. Now that's a little bit strong of a contrast, but we can probably get that to even blend into that purple there and soften up. Yep, we get that to soften up. And I'm just going to fill in with that blue violet right here. And my fantasy crocus, at least my, yeah, between my knees. Actually, I'm going to sit on my chair. You guys have seen where I sit. Yeah, I got nothing better to do. Yeah. Annette, you're right, baby. I got nothing better to do, right? No, actually, I got to say, this kind of stuff keeps my sanity. And I think everybody can agree with that. After a rough day, man, to be able to, you know, kick back and play with color. Remember, color is therapeutic. Just swirling blue around on a piece of paper releases dopamine. I think when we start our little color theory classes, it's going to be more color therapy while you're learning a little color theory. And we'll start with having everybody, oops, now see, I got some runaway purple here. Can you guys see it? I got a little bit heavy on that violet and it's running away right here. Boy, this is a challenge. Hold the gourd at the same time and make sure that paint doesn't run down. Oh, thanks, Terry. Thank you so much. Yeah, if it was sitting in my lap, I could hold it long enough, right? So it's sitting up and the paint's not going to run. But doing this for you guys this way. Okay, so I've got the purple here. I'm going to go dark on this side. So my cyan, it's actually Lagoon. So I keep calling it Cyan Aqua. This is the Lagoon from the Neon collection. Blue Lagoon, I think we called it something Lagoon in there. And just kind of let it blend in. Right? It's okay. It's my gourd. Remember that. This is you guys' art. You can do anything you want. You can pick up a piece that's been sitting around the house for 30 something years and do something with it, right? If it's still sitting there and it looks incomplete to you, why not pick up and play with it? What's the harm, right? As Annette said, got nothing else to do. I'm just so glad to see you here, Annette. I've been really worried about you the past few days, honey. So you guys know she is the recipient of a experimental jaw implant. I don't know if anybody's known anybody with jaw issues, but half the time the ear, nose, and throat doctor throws it back to the dentist, and the dentist wants to says it's the ear, nose, and throat doctor's problem. And people that have jaw issues, it's really hard to get help. She was in a car accident. I know I don't mean to tell your whole life story here, honey, but apparently she was in some kind of accident, and this doctor put this amazing implant in her, and we're so glad, but a little infection popped up. And so they had to go in and do emergency surgery, clean it all up, and make sure she's okay. And I've been worried about her the last couple days. And I only heard from her back this morning that all is well. So everybody sends some love and hugs to the lobster lady. Someday she'll have to tell us a story of how she became Annette the lobster lady. Pamela, who's here? Is that Pam Dabney? Hello, Pam Dabney. Pam, how are things going? How is your trip back from Colorado, honey? Last time I talked to Pam, she had taken a real long trip. And by the way, I found more pigments, Pam. You probably missed the last couple lives. I've been running across some beautiful pigments that I've been discovering as I do this. And by the way, everybody can thank Pam for her brilliant idea that I should be doing mystery boxes. She was the one that suggested it, and the alarm bell went off, ding, 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 ding in my head. She says, do mystery boxes. And we now have half boxes, whole boxes, any kind of box you want, right? So I'm just going around still doing my Snap Lagoon combo here, trying to add some variations so it doesn't all look identical, doesn't look the same as we paint this little puppy. So I'm going to work on this thing probably, yeah, when I have time. I don't know. I'm kind of excited about finishing this. So we'll see how far I get trying to paint different sections of this at night. And then we'll go back. I'll meet you guys back here and talk about what future that gloss does. Because if the floor polish is going to be that shiny on the wood, why can't we use that type of uh, floor polish type of stuff to seal our pieces all together? If you want something shiny, because it's shinier than varnish, and you don't want to use epoxy, but you have to do multiple coats. And so once I get enough painted here, we can go back to do the future floor, which it's not going to be right away, guys. You're going to have to let me get some work painting done on this before I can. So I'll get there. But because you have to do this in phases. I'm going to base coat it with a primary, with the purely pigments. I'm going to go over it with some kind of mica. Yeah, I'm telling you, anybody that's got an allergy to resin, Terry Lechner says it's a great idea. As soon as I get done painting these two, I'll show you. But the the reason why the polymer clay people and the toy train people use it is because it's so damn shiny. It looks like it actually has a thin paper thin coat of epoxy on it. So again, people that are allergy prone, worried about playing with the epoxy, want another alternative to maybe their varnish isn't giving them what they want, the look that they want, right? You have an alternative. We're going to play with that. I'm trying to just get this to blend a little bit without trying to explain myself. I'm sure you guys can see what I'm trying to do. I'm just going back and forth and putting in the purple and the lagoon. And then if there's a little paint left on my brush, see how it makes what they call a tertiary color? It's a combination of the violet and the purple mixed together. It kind of makes this darker blue. So it can make your piece, there you go. Can you see me? I can see you. Patty, is that you, sweetheart? We see you. If you just posted, I see you, honey. Yes, we can see Miss Patty Simmons. By the way, anybody waiting on the watercolors, the girls, I was FaceTiming some of the girls today. They were outside watching me pack them in bag. Patty, I packed up your order today. Well, I bagged it. Now it's going to go to the shipping department. I realize it's been a long time. I'm sorry, guys. It's just been overwhelming trying to prepare for this move. And the sudden heat wave that we got, which was horrific. It's so beautiful this morning compared to when it was 108 outside. Much prettier today. I don't know why I put that light in there, but something made me put a little bit more violet there. So that doesn't look too bad. I can see what that looks like when I turn it over. I've got one more to go over here, kind of doing our thing. I'm not obviously doing the pale lavender. I've stepped away, and the whole thing is the lagoon and the Snap. There's more contrast to using those two side by side. And again, they're my fantasy crocus, so why not? Oh, well, Pam, where do you? Oh, I don't know about where you're at. I know when I bought them, it was the pumpkin gourd farm in Paso Robles. There is an online place out of Arizona that sells quite a bit Gourds. Fairy Art Mother, as soon as I ended my broadcast last time, she went searching for Gourds. So you were not alone. Now, word of warning, everybody, and don't cut them open without going through a lot of training and watching a ton of videos about how to cut them open, because the stuff inside is horrible for your lungs. It's toxic and it's not good. It's not like, oh, I forgot to wear a mask because I'm working with resin today. It is, you must wear a mask. You must wear a mask for your safety. If you ever want to breathe again, you don't want that stuff in your lungs. So everybody's running out looking for gourds, but make sure you look up the proper care and feeding. Because once you get into decorative gourd work, oh my God, it's beautiful. I mean, they cut off the top and they take grasses and braid them and weave them across the top and, flute them and cut them open like that one I just showed you. I'll show you the one I showed off on that my friend Betsy did as soon as I get this turquoise in here. Getting a little messy here. Got to get, ooh, there's a little green paint. Let's get that extra little blue off there. I don't need that. Do my little bit of cleanup. Yeah, that one's not bad. So they don't look too bad. There's a lot of contrast in them. Okay. We're going to completely let them dry and see how I can get some kind of sparkle on them. Again, gotta let it dry first, right? Gotta let it dry before we can add the sparkle. I did rub some, like I said, violet on here. Didn't come up as bright as I thought it would. So I want to do more tests on how I'm going to make it shimmer and shine, other than just brush a primary element underneath it and then do this to it, because this is what the Future Floor Polish does. It makes it shiny. Since I've had so many years invested in this thing, I'm not just going to slap a bunch of paint on it. Right? It's just not what I'm going to do. I've got way too much invested. I am going to do this little green stem area here while we still have some of the venomous viper and rusted oxide moist. I got to finish up that leaf. Okay. I don't know what Terry just said, but whatever Terry said, I agree with her. I just saw her name come flashing across the screen. While I still have that venomous, because the varnish dries really fast. So just a couple drops of color and a couple drops of varnish, it'll be dry in your cup pretty quick. So while you've got this paint moist and ready, use it. You don't want to go back an hour later and go, oh, it dried up. Yes, it will dry up on you. And if you're going to get this rusted oxide to blend with that green, you want it moist so they kind of just go into one another and add some variety. Now, another thing I like to do on my greenery is I am a big fan of adding turquoise accents. So while I have this here, let's have a little fun and just a little turquoise accent here to give it a little variety just down that one stem, right? That's all it needs. Just a tiny little pop of turquoise makes it interesting. So now you got 3 colors on the leaves. I'm going to do the same thing over here on this one. Get that venomous viper out of the way. Just a tiny bit of an accent of turquoise, to me, on my green leaves always makes things just a tiny bit more interesting. This is a fantasy piece. This is not, is my painting like the perfect Wikipedia painting? And that little bit of turquoise on that green and red always makes it look gorgeous. It just does. So, Let's see what else we want to cover today. We've done the future floor polish. We know about that. I really, really, really don't want to rush this thing. I mean, I will show you. Yesterday, I experimented with trying to get a little shimmer on here. And so I experimented with some of the large sparkle color in the future floor polish. I couldn't really get it to come up and shimmer like I wanted it to. So I think there's a better way that I can get a little shimmer and shine. Now, as far as playing with a red, we do have a color called Crimson Lust. This is one of the prettiest reds I've ever seen in a mica. It's not a wine. This is actually a red they use in automotive paint. And so my wish list, even though I have to paint this first, I wanted to paint this again, paint these again, and see if I can't rub on, because this is what Betsy did when she did this gourd. She rubbed the mica right onto the gourd, and it kind of adhered itself. But she also used a glue. I don't know if it was Mod Podge. It was something like a Mod Podge that creates the texture like this. And then when she rubbed the stargazer on there and the copper, it created a chameleon effect. And these are not chameleon micas. This is just my stargazer and copper rubbed on here. Stargazer is my only tricolor color that I've ever made, and it was an accident. So to get it to that color, but I think I may be able to get away with rubbing on some of this red. You know, when I finally get to the point of adding the shimmer, I can rub on this red, because the metallic reds will sit on the surface and they really dominate. And then if I can go over something shiny like this, that'd be great. So anyway, so there's some accents on doing my crocus. We've got these leaves updated. And I know it's did gel gloss on what, sweetheart? No, it's believe it or not, Pledge. It was under the name Future Floor Polish at the time. There's also something called Revive It. I used a floor polish sparkle. That's how we got that shine on the gourd. Several coats. Toy Train modelists use it. A lot of hobbyists that do polymer clay use the Future Floor Polish to get a little shine on their work. So anyway, guys, so a little bit of business. Founding members, when you log in to place an order, remember to type in free product sample of the week or free product. It'll pull up a line item that says free product sample of the week. It's going to send you to a page that only founding members have access to, and there'll be a little icon. It's going to look like a purely pigment droplet. Click on that. It adds your free sample of the week to your order for no charge and no extra freight. Yeah, I'm behind on getting, like, I packed all those watercolors this morning, so I still haven't gotten the neons up in the individual bottles. I know people have been asking about that. Prism Pour, if you're a Prism Pour lover, I'd start shopping now, because we're cutting that line drastically. We're going to keep the metallics and the interferences, but we're cutting almost 100 Prism Pour colors. So there's no reason to make a deep base paint anymore. You guys can make your own deep base paint, especially since I can show you how to use these colors and kind of make your own colors. I'm going to have to come up with some recipes for you, and we'll have them on the members page where you guys can go in and, oh, so many drops of this to so many drops of this will help me make my saffron, right? What else am I missing? Mystery boxes. I think there was only 3 half boxes up there right now. If you go in there and it's out of stock, don't worry about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take 5 of the full boxes and cut them in half. Not literally cut them in half, but make 10 half boxes and take 5 full boxes out of the inventory, because I got to still stick to be 45-50 total, whether they add up by halves or they all add up by wholes. I don't want to oversell on these. I want to make sure that we have some luscious stuff for everybody that's buying the mystery boxes. And if I can do a second round and we find more stuff as I'm packing and moving, great. But I want these first boxes to be something to write home about. Mwah! All right, guys, let's see. I don't think there's any other business. I hope you have. I know it's a shorter broadcast than normal, but it is Sunday, and I'm sure you want to get together with your family and friends. You might have errands and stuff that you have to do. I want to thank you for joining me for a special Sunday broadcast and watching me play with my gourd. What question don't you understand? I texted you about an order. Did you see it? Uh, no, but I've been on my broadcast, so I did not see a text about something to add to your H2 order. I do not see that. Did you see my question, Leslie? No, because guys, I'm not watching the feed. It's here. What is Patty Simmons' question? Do you want me to Zelle my order? That would be awesome. I'll call you as soon as we get off the phone, Patty. I'll call you as soon as we get off the phone. That would be awesome. And then Heather, I'll take a look for your text. Okay. We'll make sure we get together. Yeah, but you know what? We're getting half the money by Zelle and half the money for the business. Because even though it's a 20% transaction, it still doesn't hurt. I mean, it's going to pay off the loan. It's just we're trying to get some cash today, and Zelle is always a little bit better. And if you're in California, and Patty, if you're in California, you don't want to eat the $33 sales tax. You texted me a couple days ago. Well, I'll look, Heather, but you may have to re-text me again, whatever the issue is. Something, if you wanted to go with your Twinkling H2O box, go ahead and please re-text me again. I have been crushed here beyond stretched. And yesterday, if you saw my announcement and I look extra upset yesterday, I can't find Harley. So those of you that saw my kitty Harley a few months ago, he's somewhere in the house and he was gone for a week and a half. He showed up on the morning of my birthday. He ate something and I haven't seen him since, and that was a week ago. So I'm a little bit stressed out about Harley missing in the house somewhere. I know that sounds nuts, but so if you saw a little bit of something strange on my face, that was it. I'm a little bit worried about my boy. But other than that, rock and roll. Hope you guys have a beautiful Sunday. And Heather, just resend that message. That way I do not let you down, sweetheart. And Patty, I'll give you a call as soon as we hang up. And Miss Dabney, when you're ready to do your thing, because I know you were otherwise engaged when I call you about your box, happy to help, sweetheart. Wait a minute. What did she say? Leslie talked about someone who added micas to products and made. What do you mean? What is she saying? Sparkle, what are you trying to say? Let me see what she's saying here. Because it won't let me read it too long on my phone, honey. It makes me okay, so Leslie talked about someone who added mica to a product that made part of her piece dimensional. I wonder, are you talking about that video I did 2 years ago for the Winter Dreams event, sweetheart? Sparkle, I did do a piece where I took gel medium and created a texture and I had mica in it. But maybe you can send me the question in an email and ask me more about it because I have no idea what you're talking about here. Anyway, you guys have, but I want to help. Let's just say I want to help everybody. So anyway, I hope you guys have a beautiful Sunday and thank you for joining me. Thank you for following along in my craziness of finding all these old pieces of art that I started and I think they still need to be finished. You guys have a beautiful day and hugs and kisses, everybody. Bye.